So in math, we do everything up and then we have a way to undo it. So we do it up by addition, we undo it by subtraction. We do it up by multiplication, we undo it by division. We do it up by exponents, we undo it with roots. Well, when we multiply polynomials up, we have to have a way to undo those as well. And we undo it by what's called factoring. And factors are things that are being multiplied together. So when we're done with this, we had something that we needed to multiply up. This was the answer we got. Now we want to undo that and we're going to factor it. But when we're done, we have two factors, things that are multiplied together. So 3 times 5 equals 15. 15 is the product, the name of the answer when we multiply. The 3 and the 5 are called factors. So factoring is undoing multiplying polynomials. So get out your factoring rule sheet. If you don't have it, go print it out, download it from D2L under Content and First Day Handouts. You will need this. We're going to be using it. Okay. So, rule number 1, greatest common factor. That is the most important rule. Remember it always. If you do not do it, sometimes it can make your life miserable. If you do it, and you can make your life way easier. So, when I am looking at rule number 1, greatest common factor, I look at this, and I like to look at the numbers first and then each letter individually. So I'm going to look at 12, 30, and 6. And I decide what is the biggest number I can take out of each of these, factor out. Or another way to think of that is divide. Well, I can divide each of these by 6. I can't divide this by anything bigger than 6, so that's the most I can do. So anytime we factor things, we always put them out to the left in the front. So I'm going to factor the 6 out. Now I'm going to look at the letters. Okay? Does everybody have at least one A? Well, yes, they do. This guy actually has 3 A's. So I can get A to the 3rd out of everybody. I can't get A to the 5th out of everybody because this guy only has 4 A's, not 5. This one only has 3 A's, not 5. So if I can't take it out of anybody, I can't take, or out of everybody, I can't take it out of anybody. So the most I can get out is A to the 3rd. Then I'm going to multiply up what's left. Well, basically all I'm doing is looking at this and saying 12A to the 5th divided by, or factor out, 6A to the 3rd. Well, 12 divided by 6 is 2. My bases are the same, but this is dividing, so 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, the sign is going to stay the same. So 30 divided by 6, or I'm factoring out a 6, leaves me with a 5. A is my base. 4 minus 3 is 1. I don't write the 1, it's invisible. And this sign is going to stay the same. And this is basically 6A to the 3rd divided by, or factor out, 6A to the 3rd. And remember, anything over itself equals 1. So, 1. If I don't have that 1, I'll never be able to get back to this. So that can be very, very important. Notice when they're exactly the same, you're left with a 1. If I want to just quickly multiply it back in my head to make sure I did it right, 6A to the 3rd times 2A squared will give me 12A to the 5th. 6A to the 3rd times 5A will give me 30A to the 4th. 6A to the 3rd times 1, and that's why that 1 is so important, gives me 6A to the 3rd. And this is my answer. It's fully factored now. This is being multiplied with this. Let's look at this example. So once again, the first thing I'm going to do is look at the numbers. The 4, the 12, the 28, and the 4. Well, the biggest number I can get out of each of these is 4. I can get 12 out of this one, but I can't get 12 out of this one. I can't get 12 out of the 28 either. So 4 is the biggest one. Now let's look at the x's. Does everybody have at least one x? Well, they do. Now let's see what's the biggest number of x's I can get out. So that would be x to the third. Okay? Because I could take 5 out here, but I can't get 5 out of this guy. So 3 is the most. Now let's look at the y's. Does everybody, each term, have at least one y? Well, yep, everybody has at least one y. This guy only has one, so that's the most y's I can get out. Now I'm going to multiply up what's left. So 4x to the fifth, y to the third, factor out 4x to the third y, and I will get x squared, y squared. 4 divided by 4 is 1. I don't need to write that. 5 minus 3 is 2, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, let's look at the next one. This one would be 3x squared, y. 12 minus 4 is 3. X, 5 minus 3 is 2, and 2 minus 1 is 1. Let's look at the next one. This one would be 7xy. So again, 28 divided by 4, or factor out 4, is 7. The x's are the same, so 4 minus 3 is 1, and y's 2 minus 1 is 1. And now let's look at this last one. Oh, look at this. This term and this one are exactly the same. So what should I have? 1. And when you quickly multiply them back, you will get this. Okay? Let's look at this one. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, well, I don't even have any number in this one. Well, it's a 1, but we never ever factor out a 1 because 1s never change anything. So we never ever factor out, just like we never ever cross-cancel or reduce by 1. Okay? So then I look at the c's. Well, they both have c's. This one has 2 c's, so I know I can get 2 out of that. I can get 2 out of this one as well. So that's the most I can get out of each of them. And then I'm going to multiply up what's left. So c to the fourth minus 6. When I multiply this back really quickly, c squared times c to the fourth gives me c to the sixth. And c squared times negative 6 gives me negative 6c squared. Okay, let's look at one more. And it is, all right, so I would like you to write this down, turn off the video for a second, see if you can figure out what we're factoring here, and then come back and see what we've got. All right, so first I'm going to look at the numbers. Well, this guy doesn't even have a number, so I can't factor out any numbers. And this one does not even have a letter, so I can't factor out any letters. But there is something I can factor out, and that is the negative sign. Sometimes we need to just factor out a negative. When we factor out a negative, that means that every sign behind it changes. So that's all I'm factoring out. So now this b becomes positive, and this 8 becomes negative. Both of these signs changed. When I multiply it back to see if I got it right, negative times positive b gives me negative b. Negative times negative 8 gives me positive 8. And there we have it. So sometimes, very, very important to just factor out a negative. You will need to know that, especially when we get into Rule 3b.